That's a terrible joke, huh, Benji? Get used to it. Well, last time we tried to read this person's life, I think we were in the author is Emily Dickinson. You guys like her?
Yeah, she has good poems.
She has good poems. Not necessarily good life, right? So,
Isn't she pretty lonely?
Yeah,
she never got married.
She's have a secluded life, probably. So.
And she died early, I think.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Okay.
No, she did.
Yeah, she did. She died earlier.
Yeah. None of her poems were really known until after she was dead.
Oh, that's right.
Her sister helped her.
Yeah, we read a little bit of her life in teen years, right? So.
This book has an introduction.
Yeah, well, I think about we just give that up. Let's read the introduction of the book. Is that okay? So yeah, you guys, you want to read the answer, you want to gather more information as you can. Expedia can help, right? So okay. Okay, introduction is a lengthy one. So, wow, that's not small. So, Naomi, you want to read? Or you feel
Sure.
better? Okay.
You could take turns to read it too.
No pressure.
Where? Oh, the introduction. Oh, we're doing the introduction?
Wow. You can speak a raw word good.
Like, this is a whole introduction, this whole thing?
Not too much, but it's still a little bit. I like to read introductions.
Emily Dickinson, writing to the editor Thomas Wentworth Higginson in July 1862, reported that she had no portrait, but offered the following description in place of one. Small like the wren, and my hair is bold like the chestnut bar, and my eyes like the sherry in the glass that the gust leaves. Would this do just as well? Despite Dickinson's claim, we do possess one photograph of her. How do you say that?
The daguerreotype. I have no idea. Ask Noah. Daguerreotype. Okay.
Taken in 1847 or 1858 when she was...
Do you see that? That's her.
Oh, yeah, that's...
Yeah.
When she was at her late teens. The image certainly confirms her self-portrait. Her frame is tiny, her shiny hair does indeed sit boldly atop her head, and her dark eyes really do glisten like liquor at the bottom of a glass. The photograph also suggests many of the rich puzzles and paradoxes that have informed our view of Dickinson since the last decade of the 19th century, when readers and critics began to read, study, and obsess over her poems. Dickinson's body, with its delicate hands and slender torso, may resemble the fragile form of someone too weak to venture far from home. But her huge, moist eyes stare at us with the wisdom, depth, and longing of a woman who has traveled around the world and come back with stories. Not all of them fit for mixed company. She demurely clutches a bouquet of flowers, and a book resets primly at her side. Sorry. But her full, sinuous lips reveal a person whose thoughts may not always tend toward such tidy subjects as flowers and books.
That's a strange way of writing, but if you do this...
Yeah, it was said that I might explain this, but she really enjoyed like walking around in nature and gardens and stuff.
She did.
For like her poems. We look away from the photograph, intrigued and stirred. What's going on in her mind? How could this slight figure be the author of some of the most passionate love poems and most searing descriptions of loss. The most haunting religious lyrics ever written.
Okay, let me continue.
Okay.
Let Noah continue a little bit.
Okay.
Think I can pace down to learn to read expressively.
Yeah.
Emily Elizabeth Dickinson was born in Amherst, Massachusetts on December 10th, 1830. The middle child of Edward Emily Necros Dickinson, her brother Austin was born in 1829, and her sister Lavinia in 1833. Her father, a lawyer, served as treasurer for Amherst College. Her grandfather was a co-founder of the college, and also occupied important positions on the General Court of Massachusetts, the Massachusetts State Senate, and the United States House of Representatives. His heart, Dickinson wrote in a letter, was pure and terrible, and I think no other like it exists. It was strictly religious, something it would later rebel against, leading the family prayers every day and often censoring her reading, but it also ensured that Dickinson grew up in a household surrounded by books and heated intellectual debates. Her mother was a more shadowy presence. Dickinson wrote that she does not care for thought. More harshly, she claimed, I never had a mother. I suppose mother is one to whom you hurry when you are troubled. Even so, the Dickinsons remained in extremely close-knit family. Even after brother Austin married, he and his wife settled right next door. Dickinson attended the co-educational Amherst Academy. Academy. I always have a hard word. Academy from the ages of 10 to 17, and then went on to the Mount Holyoke Female Seminary, now Mount Holyoke College in nearby South Hadley. She blossomed there into a social and spirited young woman. The most significant event of her stay occurred at a fundamentalist Calvinist revival meeting, when she was asked to stand, declare herself a Christian, and refused. She's a little bit independent spirit, huh? After 1 year in the Mount Holyoke, she returned in 1848 to Amherst, where she remained, apart from brief trips to Boston, Cambridge, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. for the rest of her life. And at school and at home, Dickinson received an excellent education. In the Hermes Academy alone, she studied the arts, English literature, classics, and the Bible. She also received a firm grounding in the sciences, mathematics, geology, botany, natural history, physiology, and astronomy.
Astronomy.
Astronomy. That's my English so far it goes. Okay. At home, the Dickinson's large, very library include books by Hawthorne, Emerson, Thoreau, Longfellow, Shakespeare, Keynes, and Brownings, and Brontes, and George Eliot, along with Noah Webster's and American Dictionary of the English Language, which for Dickinson would prove one of the most important books of all. Can you believe that? She read dictionaries all the time. That's fun. And a healthy dose of newspapers and romance novels. You can finish this page, then pass on to Noah. During her early 20s, Dickinson began to dress in white, to leave her house only on rare occasions, and to retreat the circle of her acquaintances until it numbered just a few people, often speaking with her through a screen or from an adjoining room. She soon developed a reputation as a town eccentric. The young Mabel Loomis Todd, having recently moved to Amherst with her husband David, remarked in a letter to her parents about the strange resident. I must tell you about the character for Amherst. She's a lady who all the people call the myth. She's a sister from Miss Dickinson, that seemed to be a little chanty gossipy girl, I'm right, sorry. and she has been outside, and what's climax is all the family oddity. She has been outside her house in 15 years at once to see a new church. When she creeped out at night and read by moonlight, no one who calls upon her mother or sister ever sees her. But she allowed the little children once in a great while, and one at a time, to come in. When she gives them cake or candy and sound nicely, for she is very fond of the little ones. But more often she let down the sweet meat by a string. What? Sweet meat by string out of a window to them. She dresses wholly in white, and her mind is said to be perfectly wonderful. She writes finely, but no one ever sees her. Her sister invited me to come to sing to her mother sometimes. People tell me the myth will hear every note. She will be near, but unseen. Isn't it like a book? So interesting. She's a charitable and cheerful young lady. Sorry. One can hardly blame Todd for being fascinated by such an unusual character. But unfortunately, the myth she takes such a pleasure in describing influence our later notions Dickinson much too heavily. So this is a correction there, okay? So despite her seclusion, a large number of prominent figures came and went through her house. She also developed deep, though largely, what is that? Epistolary friendships with several people. The clergyman Charles Wisworth, whom she met in Philadelphia, described as her dearest earthly friend. Samuel Bowles, editor of the Springfield Republican, and Judge Otis Phillips, Lord of Salem, Massachusetts. Wow, that's a big title. Lord of Salem. Okay, go ahead.
During this time, Dickinson also began to write poetry. On April 15, 1862, she read in the Atlantic Monthly a letter to a young contributor by Thomas Wentworth Higginson. In the letter, Higginson, a man of letters, active abolitionist, and early supporter of women's rights, offered advice to novice writers about finding an audience for their work. Dickinson sent him 4 poems, along with a letter inquiring if my verse is alive, and telling Higginson, should you feel it breathed, and had you leisure to tell me, I should feel quick gratitude. Although Higginson may have been politically ahead of his time, his literary tastes were not quite as advanced. He suggested that Dickinson revise her unusual punctuation and syntax. Still, their correspondence, which lasted until the last month of her life, seems to have gone a long way toward helping Dickinson feel part of a greater literary community. Dickinson experienced her most tumultuous decade during the 1860s, when several events took their toll on her. The outbreak of the Civil War, the changed circumstances of several friends, Bowles was sick in Europe, Wadsworth moved to San Francisco, and Higginson served as an officer in the Union Army, and her own severe eye trouble in 1864 and 1865. After the late 1860s, she never again left her home. In April 1862, she wrote mysteriously to Higginson, I had a terror since September. I could tell to none, and so I sing, as the boy does by the burying ground, because I am afraid. These lines certainly confirm Dickinson's difficulties during this time, even though no one knows exactly what her terror was. This period, however, proved to be the most productive of Dickinson's life. Between 1860 and 1865, she wrote an average of 300 poems each year.
Wow. Wow. That's very productive.
Yeah.
Wow.
Although Dickinson never married, her passionate poems, as well as a series of letters that have come to be called the Master Letters, suggest that She may have been deeply in love at least once. It remains in doubt whether the object of her affection was Charles Wadsworth, Otis Lord, her sister-in-law Susan, or indeed any real person. The last years of Dickinson's life were sad ones, due to the numerous deaths she experienced. Her father died in 1874, Samuel Bowles in 1878, her nephew Gilbert in 1883, and both Charles Wadsworth and her mother in 1882. In April 1884, Otis Lord died, and Dickinson herself suffered the first attack of an illness that would prove fatal. She died on May 15, 1886.
How old is she by that time? She was born 16. No. What year is born? Oh, born 30. 1830.
56.
56. Okay.
Or 55, whatever.
She's not that early. You know what I mean?
She didn't?
Yeah, she died actually we're mature age.
How old is she?
56. In those times, that's a
kinda-
long age.
Really?
Yeah. Average. People's age is about 30 at most.
Oh. That's young.
It's a Civil War time, you
Yeah.
know? Therefore, her lifestyle is not necessarily, we think somebody just did something, right? So
It didn't really seem like she did much, though.
Huh?
It didn't really seem like she did much, though.
I mean, Civil War time, remember? Civil War time, how terrible it is. Yeah, you know, nothing's safe, stable, right? So, have you guys watched the movie called Gone with the Wind?
Sounds
It's a long
really
story.
familiar. We haven't seen it.
It was all about wartime stuff. That's a terrible time for people. So, okay, Naomi, come back to it. I'm gonna hear you.
I'll run to the restroom. You guys go ahead.
I don't know if I'm ready.
You not ready?
No.
You will never be ready. Just breathing it out. I'm joking, you see. I like teasing people, so hold on. Go ahead. You go ahead.
We're at with a few exceptions.
Yep.
Right.
Read loud.
Okay.
Loud.
With a few exceptions.
Expressive. Did I use the word expressive means? Okay.
Okay.
Joking with you, but it's true, man.
With a few exceptions, Dickinson's poems are quite short, and they consist of stanzas written in what is known as common measure.
Put this before him because his voice is gentle.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Okay, if your voice is like me, I'm so noisy. Nobody can hear me. You are so gentle. Nobody can hear you.
Yeah. They recall the hymns that would have been intimately familiar to Dickinson from her childhood on. By far, the most popular writer of these hymns was Isaac Watts, whose collections of hymns and other books could be found in every New England home. Opening Watts' Divine Songs for Children, 1715, Dickinson would have encountered stanzas like this. Let dogs delight to bark and bite, for God hath made them so. Let bears and lions growl and fight, for 'tis their nature too. But children, you should never let such angry passions rise. Your little hands were never made to tear each other's eyes.
Oh, he did that.
I did?
With his mouth.
He did that when he was young. Fighting with Neo and T.
What?
He dare even challenge me.
What?
In fighting.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, young play one.
Yeah, he's a wild joke.
He was wild, right? Remember that?
No would bite people.
Huh?
No,
That was
the
the one.
biter.
That was the one who
No,
actually
no
bit
one
people.
by the people.
Unbelievable.
He bit me.
Yeah,
Wow.
I still have some scars.
They used to bite me when we wrestled. All these big teeth marks on my face.
Continue.
Okay. Another perennial. How do you say that? Perennially popular example of common measure is the hymn Amazing Grace, which begins, Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. But although Dickinson's poems may superficially resemble sternly moralistic or sweetly consoling hymns, A closer look reveals that they are anything but. Faith is a fine invention.
Hey, why'd you skip?
Wait, did I skip a page?
Skip
skipped the
my
bottom.
poem.
Oh,
man.
sorry. The soul's superior instance occurred to her alone, when friends and earth's occasion have infinite withdrawn.
That's interesting. Let me read loud.
Okay.
The soul's superior instinct occurred to her when friends earth occasion an infinite withdrawal. Wow. Okay. Oh, faith is a fine invention for gentlemen to see, who see. A microscope of prudence in an emergency. She was talking to doctors, those that have microphones, go to the doctor in emergency room. Whether you have faith or you want to depend on science for healing, I guess. That's interesting, huh?
Yeah.
That's how I read this poem. Okay. Good.
Unfolding as predictably as a hymn, these two stanzas nevertheless show with their preference for individuality over community. Attention to detail over that invention of faith, how in Dickinson's crafty hands from an occasion for cutting ironies, allowing her poems to enact an ongoing battle between received opinion and superior instance. The abrupt rhythm achieved by her characteristic use of dashes in place of expected punctuation also helps advance the battle. Dickinson's use of dashes may not always be evident in this edition. As discussed later in this essay, Dickinson's
Idiosyncratic.
Idiosyncratic, it means
mean?
what?
no, okay,
Means
idiosyncratic.
irregular.
Okay.
No, I mean it's like a characteristic of a particular person. It's like a characteristic.
Okay.
Characteristic?
Yeah.
Huh.
Okay. My Chinese translation irregular. No.
Use of rhymes adds even more tension to her deceptively hymn-like poems. Tell all the truth, but tell it slant, she famously wrote. The Complete Poems of Emily Dickinson, edited by Thomas H. Johnson. Poem.
How the slang in those days means short, succinct, word concise.
Mhm.
Tell all the truth, but with succinctity or some.
Okay. And she practiced this Willie doctrine in almost every poem. Do you want me to read this too?
Yeah.
Okay. The heart asks pleasure first, and then excuse from pain, and then those little anodynes that deaden suffering, and then to go to sleep, and then, if it should be, the will of its inquisitor, the liberty to die.
Inquisitor. It's
In-
good Spanish, sorry to see that, but the build institutions, the Catholic, Inquisition, basically the people against Catholic faith practices. Yes. Like they did to Don Mogul, right? So that's Inquisition part of Inquisition. So sorry.
No worries. This retching little poem attains much of its power from Dickinson's use of slant rhymes, or off rhymes, like pain, suffering, and die, which don't allow the comfort that might come from exact rhymes and instead remind us of life's conflicts and near misses.
Can you be and die?
Be dead.
Be die.
Be, if it's really be, be, then you can die. But be, die. These are be or die.
Be
That's
dead.
word say. Yeah. you
No,
don't get
guys,
it.
it's not the meaning of the words that is important here. It's talking about the off rhyme. It's talking about the rhyming scheme.
Yeah.
Oh,
Mm.
he
Yeah.
died?
True. He's talking about the writing scheme. So. You see, we are poor readers. So.
The joy of not being able to tell all the truth once and for all. To tell the beauty would decrease. To state the spell demean. There is a syllable-less C.
Syphilis C.
Syllable-less
Mm.
C. Of which it is the sign.
Let's repeat that poem before we move on. Next portion will be Eliza's.
To tell the beauty would decrease. To state the spell demean.
Hmm.
There is a syllable-less C, of which it is the sign.
Yeah, the sign. So there's a rhyme there, right? So demean,
C.
sign, C, and disease, right? So yeah.
Okay. And then wait, you want me to read the rest of this? Oh, okay.
Appropriately for a poem about how not telling beauty only increases beauty's strength. The near rhymes, daemon, and sign mirror the
Inexactness.
Ah.
inexactness that Dickinson applauds.
Mhm.
The coinage syllabus is a good example of Dickinson's fondness for making up new words, and the old ones are not adequate to her needs. Dickinson is an ardent as ardent as a revisionist of syntax as she is of form.
Syntax. I'm saying.
Syntax as she is of form, as evident in the following of single stanza poem. Adventure most unto self, the soul condemned to be attended by a single hound, its own identity.
Where's hound, Noah?
It's like a
vowel.
dog.
Dog.
A dog.
Mhm.
Okay. Never knew that.
Here, by recording a statement that might have expected to begin the soul condemned, Dickinson can start her poem with the true subject, the terror and the necessity of the soul's adventure. Similarly, by stripping the poem of verbs is condemned, it is attended. And by boldly capitalizing final word identity, she increases its darkness and strangeness. Isaac Watts would be appalled by such stylistic departures from tradition. But it is precisely these quirks that make Dickinson's poems so continually exciting. Her liberties extend even further. Rather than begin her poems with elaborate context or settings, Dickinson plunges us right away into the pulsing heart of things. Her poems often start with bold proclamation or definition. The rest of the poem explores hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul.
Is that amazing? How beautiful that expression is. I like it.
Heaven is what I cannot reach.
Wow.
Presentment is that long shadow on the lawn.
Mm.
All the poems lead us straight into an extreme situation without warning.
Fun. Esther's pretty good with reading.
I guess so.
Not until I start reading.
Yeah, there we go. That's good.
My life closed twice before its close. It yet remains to see if immorality unveil.
Immortality.
You can say it either way.
Immorality is immoral, immortality is immortal. Two completely different meanings.
Moral or moral.
Immortality unveil a third event to me.
Mhm.
I felt a cleavage in my mind as if my brain had split. I
Mhm.
tried to match it, steam by steam.
Scene by scene.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but could not make
Mhm.
them fit. Wild nights, where I with thee. Wild nights should be our luxury.
I can read this one like this. My life closed twice before it's closed. Yet remain to see if immortality and will a thirdly went to me. I felt a cleavage in my mind, as if my brain had split. I tried to match it, scene by scene, could not make them fit. Wild nights, what have we say? One night should be our luxury.
Those are 3 different excerpts from 3 different poems, by the way.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
not all of
Oh.
them.
Oh, I thought it's all together.
It would be
No.
good together.
That would be great if they are together. I like Noah. Noah always get the right things. Nice.
Her endings can be just as abrupt. Whether a poem takes the form of a riddle, proverb, or narrative, like that word, or for her genres are just as varied as her use of common measure is uniform. It often ends with a terrifying lack of closure. 2 of her most well-known poems make this clear. In Because I Could Not Stop for Death, the speaker rides with death in most leisurely fashion past children at play and then the setting sun. But at the poem's end, time rushes suddenly forward, and the speaker looks back on the scene just described from the sudden vantage point of one who has been dead a long time.
Wow, when did this point or when did this point? I thought we are NTAG or we.
That means it would be vintage, like old and back in the day.
Okay.
Since then, 'tis centuries, but each feels shorter than the day. I first surmised the horses' heads were toward eternity. And I heard a fly buzz when I died. Dickinson again assumes the role of a dead person and imagines the stillness of the scene around her. When brings the poem to a crashing halt following the lines, horrifying their utter absence of comfort or conclusion. And then the windows failed, and then I could not see to see.
I could not see to see. Only a poet write that. It's amazing. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Let Esther continue, please.
Point of view in Dickinson's hands is an unstable thing, too. The majority of her poems feature an I who tells stories, describes nature, or dissects belief. 142 of them begin with I.
It's not wait, is that dissect or dissect?
Yeah, dissect.
I think called dissect, right? Dissect. That's how I pronounce it.
And her
Yeah.
use of first-person perspective is every bit as innovative as is her handling of form, language, and structure. Writing to Higginson on July 1862, Dickinson remarked, "When I state myself as the representative of the verse, it does not mean me, but a supposed person." Thus, in the 2 poems described above, Dickinson's narrators are not actual people who lived and died in a specific time and place, but what does that say? Emblematic figures whose deaths might just as well be ours. She also occasionally employs a we to narrate as in the poem. Our journey had advanced. Perhaps Dickinson's most radical departures from convention occur in her use of paradox to unsettle our most firmly held opinions and beliefs. As the critic's Alfred Kazin writes, she unsettles most obviously by not being easily locatable.
Locatable. Can you read that word?
Locatable. Kazin wrecked solitary here.
You got bypass the reference there, so.
Dickinson's room of her own. To enter Dickinson's world is to step into a scary but electrifying funhouse where paradoxes serve like distorting mirrors to show us, new ways of seeing just about everything. Love, death, solitude, the soul.
Repeat that sentence. That's a beautiful sentence there. So. To enter Dickinson's world.
To enter Dickinson's world is to step into a scary but electrifying funhouse where paradoxes serve like distorting mirrors to show us new ways of seeing just about everything. Love, death, solitude, the soul. Throughout her work, opposites change places. Distance is nearness in disguise. Absence is the most vital form of presence. Aloneness is the greatest company. In several painful but illuminating poems, for example, she argues in favor of hunger and longing, maintaining that the lack of occasion's desire makes the object of desire all the more precious.
That's true, right?
Success is counted sweetest by those who never succeed. Never succeed. To comprehend a nectar requires sorest need. I taste a liquor never brewed, from tankard scooped in pearl. Not all the vats upon the Rhine yield such an alcohol.
Who knows where River Rhine is?
Or what?
Rhine, the River Rhine. Where is that river? River Rhine. That's the river, I think, wrong, through Paris. Okay, so what's in Paris under the French, the famous wine, right? But that's wine.
Delight becomes pictorial when viewed through pain. More fair because impossible at any game.
Wow. That's a play of no pain, no gain, right? Read that again. That's fun. No, not fun in words, but the fun, right? In poetic expressions. Go ahead.
Delight becomes pictorial when viewed through pain. More fair because impossible at any game.
What if someone at the gym said that instead of saying no pain, no gain? That'd be like the coolest thing.
Yeah.
Well, this doesn't really mean that. It's just the same word.
Yeah.
It's basically saying that delight is, or appears as so much more of a desirable and delightful thing, enjoyable thing, because, or when viewed through hardship, pain. And it's even more desirable because in her perspective, you can't ever really achieve or gain delight. Like it's almost inaccessible because it's impossible at any gain.
Ready? No. Let's read the first poem. If we stop there, Esther, help me to remember, okay? Next time continue some.
XXII.
Even know what that is.
We're going to turn to page 6 to read the first couple of poems. Page
22.
20, page 6 actually. Sorry. On the real poem portion. Let Noah read the first one and then share his understanding. Then everybody comment from theirs. Page 6.
Well, on the page for the beginning of this part 1, it says, "This is my letter to the world that never wrote to me. The simple news that nature told with tender majesty. Her message is committed to hands I cannot see. The love of her sweet countrymen judge tenderly of me." Hey, we just read this one. Okay, so want me to read? "Success is counted sweetest by those who ne'er succeed. To comprehend a nectar requires sorest need."
Oh, that's not for Messi. Go ahead.
"Not one of all the purple host who took the flag today can tell the definition so clear of victory as he defeated, dying, on whose forbidden ear The distant strains of triumph break, agonized, and clear.
Well, let me read. I want to understand this. Success is a contagious sweetest, but those who never succeeded. To comprehend the nectar requires sorest need. Not one of all the purple host who took the flank today could tell the definition so clear of victory as he defeated dying, on whose forbidden ear the distant strain of a triumph breathed, agonized and clear. Wow, that is a very powerful poem. It's potent with image and emotions. Well, no. Anyway, Noah, go ahead, comment on it.
Oh, as we were just reading the introduction about this theme that she implements in a lot of her poems about the greatest delight in things coming from not actually ever being able to access them or something like that. Like longing, she always argues in favor of longing and desire. And so in this poem, just like a practical understanding of it is seeing that it's not those that have fought in the war and the battle and then come out alive to be able to celebrate the victory that feels the most intense, satisfactory joy. It's actually he who participated in it but was not able to make it through the battle, but was, before his death, able to see that they won the battle, but he still dies as a result of the war anyways. So it's he who feels that most intense joy just on the precipice of death. This is what she's saying in the poem, at least. Yeah, very...
What is a purple host mean? That's...
Just this one side of the army, the successful side.
Yeah, I think the fighting civil wars are for each side, huh? Purple must stand for something. I don't know. Go ahead. Wow. That's just like, I don't know, it's like writing a movie, movie scene, this poem, right? So, Nikki, comments? Try to understand the thing. Comment? No, she's a funny.
Maybe I was not precise enough to say that the person...
She's very funny, look at it.
Wait.
You're the first person in your age begin making fun of me. Yeah, you're pretty good. Funnier beyond your age.
I don't really have any further comments about it.
I think Elijah is more serious than anyone else, actually. Yeah, I thought she's a fun dude. He's serious or absent-minded. You know me? Trying to make fun of him. I don't like it. Your turn.
We're commenting the first poem.
The first poem, you have any impression, any comments, any understanding? It's difficult to understand sometimes, huh?
Was I? No, I don't really have anything to say about it.
Oh, you guys. You pick the book, okay? You gotta share your comment. I didn't pick this book, okay? So, yeah, right? Benjamin is my witness. You pick the book.
I have a nice rhythm.
Huh? Yeah? You like the rhythm? No, we like her poem very much. Anyway, the next one. Now let me read the poem.
Our share of the night to bear.
There's no the.
Oh, right. Our share night to bear.
There isn't
I'm not okay.
You're fine.
It's okay. We tried to tease you, sorry.
No, tease me because I'm actually messing up without noticing.
Huh?
Our share of night to bear, our share of morning, our blank and bliss to fill, our blank in scoring. Here a star.
Scoring.
Here a star and there a star. Some lose their way. Here a mist and there a mist. Afterwards day.
So what do you think it's talking about?
I don't know.
It's like
Seems like a very
predestination.
predestinational poem because he's talking about like the ups and downs of life and how we don't really have control
Oh, that's
over
good.
our fate. And
Good analogy. Yeah.
like we're all going to participate in the nights of life and the mornings of life, and we will be able to have our place in bliss, which is good feeling and being in a restful state and peaceful state, and also we're going to have to participate in our bad times or in the times of scorning. But yeah,
It's a very good poem. I like her poems. It requires some
I
interpretation
think
for
maybe the
sure.
poems that were picked for our thing are a little bit
Wow,
more simple.
more
'Cause I
simple.
remember them being kind of simple when we read them.
This is simple.
Yeah, it's pretty simple.
Words are notion simple, but the meaning is obscure, right? So like a guessing a puzzle game.
it's pretty easy. It's not that hard.
Yes.
It's hard.
Huh?
No, I was just joking, but they are
Enigmatic.
pretty like somewhat simple to interpret, I guess, from the ones we read.
I'm
Yeah.
still learning to.
Just because you're not able to drain every drip of meaning from a poem in a minute doesn't mean that you can't understand it
Yeah.
fairly well.
Yeah.
So the last two at least have been pretty easy.
You have to go through a process like everything, you know. Then understanding poems like this kind, especially, take a process, you know. So
Yeah, for
hope
sure.
you have to understand poetic language, certain poet, how they use their poetic language, describe what they want to know. So for Noah, he knows everything.
He knows what he thinks he knows.
He knows everything he knows.
Yep.
Well, we all.
Like me.
There you go. You
you
got
okay?
it. So, he knows everything he knows. I wish I could know everything I don't know, right?
Same. But then you wouldn't know what to do now.
Yeah. It's always a learning process. Don't get frustrated. Your young mind especially. Don't go through experience of life. You have encountered Civil War, you never even think about the Civil War. I'm joking. Elijah not to be joked this day. She's very stately. But you're gonna pray for us.
Father, we love you, Lord. And Lord, I thank you for today, Lord. I thank you for this time. Lord, I pray that you would continue to open up each of our minds, Lord, to learning, Lord, to learning more about you and not just things of the world, but Lord, through learning about things of the world, that you would be there as we learn about you, as alongside that, Lord, and through it. And Lord, I pray that you would grow each one of us closer to you, or draw us closer to you, Lord, as we are continuing to learn. I pray that we would have a true desire to learn, and that we would be willing to be taught how to. So Lord, I pray that you bless it. In Jesus' name, amen.
Noah lay hands on Naomi to pray for her. For sweetness, her spirit, peace, her mind, and good rest to her body, soul, and life. Do not be troubled, Naomi. God knows what to do, right? So not in our own terms, according to our feelings, our emotion, our age. Learn to flow his flow, okay? So always be hopeful. Making sense to you? Always be cheerful. If it's the worst things, people, I was talking to Lin said, you can still smile, am I right? So why? Why can I smile? Not that I'm not concerned and knowledge what's going on. I just don't want the world rob me, So making sense to you, So amen? Hallelujah. Why should I let bad, ugly things of the world or things of life to continue to steal my life? Huh? Think about it. Right? Yeah. When in my disposal is wonderful things. In my relationship, I can develop into beautiful things. Am I right? Am I right?
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Amen. Hallelujah. If the war break out today, miserable as it is, am I going to think the world is ended or my life has no meaning? Or I should be more cheerful. They said, everybody feel miserable. Everybody feel depressed. Maybe I can give some chocolate if I have anything. I'm just talking, right? So, yeah. Chocolate thoughts. You never know what it tastes like. But it's chocolate, so it's good, right? So, I got a box chocolate. Go ahead.
Lord, I do lift up my sister Naomi to you, Father. We, each one of us, are thankful for the work that you're doing in her life, even recently in this season.
Cast away a heavy heart, okay?
Amen.
Don't ever entertain a heavy heart. Remember that?
Yeah.
Huh? It's moment's choice, am I right? Or we engage or not, am I right?
Right.
We let it go or not. Say no to those things, and they will be done and flee away. Say yes to good things and volunteer for it, right? Be a messenger, be an actor for it, and be the one initiated, right? So, making sense to you? Yeah. Go ahead.
Lord, I do pray, Lord, for your presence even in Naomi's heart and mind. Lord, for the enlightenment of her mind and, Lord, the joy of her heart. Lord, not in in earthly things, although you do show us beautiful and joyful things even in this life, Lord, which we are grateful to you for. Lord, but furthermore and in greater measure, Lord, that she would find joy in you, Lord, in your purpose, Lord, for her life and for your people, and Lord, for and in her relationship to you and with you, Father. And Lord, I do pray that she would have, as you allow, Father, a greater awareness of the work that you're doing in her heart and her spirit, so that she would find greater joy in this too, Father. And Lord, that each one of us would be there to, Lord, encourage her and encourage her to grow in the wonderful things of life, Lord, of your life. So I pray that she would be a joy to others as well.
Yeah.
I pray this in Jesus' name.
There's no reason for us to be moody, right? Life is blessed. When you become moody, think about it. What drives me to be moody? Huh? And cast away that thing, right? So, life is good. Pray for Elijah. Lay hands on. Pray for Elijah. Elijah, life is good. The Lord knows what we're going through, where we're heading, and how we deal with our concerns, troubles. And, hey, you're a fisherman. Get out. Do you know what you're gonna catch? If you don't catch anything, do you say curse God, curse the sea, curse the fish? It's one day you didn't catch anything, So, yeah. But you will catch something, and you don't know, right?
Father, I lift up my brother and you, Elijah, and I pray for him. And I pray that you would just help him and help him to have the right mindset in you, Father, to be a light for you, Father, and that the darkness would not overcome, and that you would break anything that is in the way of him looking to you, Father. And that he would be changed by you. I pray for everything that he is going through right now, Father. I thank you for being with him no matter what. I pray that you would be with him for eternity and help him to fight the battles. Father, I just thank you for his life. And I pray that you would just bless it, Father. Richly bless it. That he would be changed. A new way of thinking. In your precious name I pray. Amen.
Bless the Lord. Wow. I didn't learn.